Welcome to IDERA's Virtual Education. Today we're going to be talking about SQL BI Manager and what it can do for you in your environment. We'll also be doing a full demonstration of the product. But first I'd like to go through just a few quick slides talking about the key features of the product and the architecture and how it works. SQL BI Manager has been designed specifically to give you the capability of seeing different performance metrics around your business intelligence environment, specifically around analysis services, integration services, and reporting services. So we're going to, with this tool, monitor that BI environment. We're also going to alert you to problems when they occur within that environment. And then when there is a problem and you want to get good information about what's going on with any one of your services. With BI Manager, you can dig in and see key performance data around the server, around specifics of individual services, i.e., if you want to see the impact of a cube being processed, or what users are running the most reports, or what packages have been executed and what's the duration of a package, or how long is it taking for a package to run, either real time or historically. You can do all of that with SQL BI Manager. So the key benefits with this tool is a central location where you can monitor all of your different services and see from a bird's eye point of view, or a bird's eye view rather, exactly how they're running. With this tool, we're going to expose all the relevant data around how those services are operating and give you the ability to dive in and get granular detail about what's going on under the hood of those services. The idea behind this tool is to give you the capability of quickly identifying problems and understanding their root causes. And then also, with this tool, you're not going to have to babysit your BI environment because alerts will be generated automatically for you. So when a problem occurs, you're aware of it or cognizant of it before an end user says anything or before anyone's having any problems in your environment. Just a quick rundown of the architecture. One of the things to note with BI Manager is this is a completely web based product. It's one of our newer products. It's been designed to work in conjunction with the Common Web Framework, or IDERA's dashboard. When you run the installation of BI Manager, we're going to install a few different services, give you a web console that's pre-configured, and then also push out a repository to a SQL instance that will hold the data that's tied to SQL BI Manager. Just to go over those components, when you install BI Manager, one of the things to consider is that it's going to come pre-configured with a Tomcat web service. You're not going to need to do any configuration or adjustment, or actually even have to know about that web service other than the fact that it's there. You're not going to have to manage it in any way, but it will install that service and then give you the web console that you're going to interact with for SQL BI Manager. SQL BI Manager is also going to install a collection service. That collection service is going to remotely and agentlessly connect to any given number of business intelligence services that you have in your environment and pull back relevant information about how they're performing and what they're currently doing in your environment so that you can view it via your web console. BI Manager is licensed per BI service. So if you had 10 licenses of BI Manager, that would mean 10 individual services that you can monitor. You can mix and match. It doesn't have to be a one-to-one ratio. So if you had 2 reporting services, 4 integration services, and 4 analysis services, that would be fine. You don't have to evenly distribute this. Also, if your services are broken out to different servers, that's also fine. Or if they are all, consolidated. For example, if you have one physical server that has all 3 of these components running on it, that's fine as well. So it's a flexible installation that can be adjusted according to how your environment's laid out. The collection service is going to reach out on a regular basis. That regular basis is once every 6 minutes, and it's going to pull the relevant data around how the boxes are running, and it pulls that information back to the BI Manager machine, and the BI Manager machine is going to take that information and load it into a repository for historical data. The regular polling interval can be adjusted on a service by service basis. So if you want to go out more often, like for example once every 2 minutes or once every 3 minutes, that's fine. If you need to go and you just care about maybe going out once every 10 minutes for specific services, that's also fully acceptable. It's not an all or nothing scenario where every polling interval needs to be the same. And also be aware that we do have components that are configurable that will capture all query information, for example, that can be running continuously. And I'll show you that a little bit later on during the demonstration. Another thing to remember is that the BI tool, like I said, it will tie into the IDERA dashboard. This is just important to note because if you have multiple IDERA products, like for example, if you had SQL Diagnostic Manager and SQL Compliance Manager, as well as SQL BI Manager, all three of those tools could be in the same dashboard and coexist together. Just as a side note, we do have some standard ports that are listed here, 9290, 9291, 9292, and 9293 are the main ports that are going to be used by the dashboard. And then the collection service itself is by default running on 9277. But let's go ahead and jump into the tool itself. So when you want to work with SQL BI Manager, you're going to navigate to your IDERA dashboard, and from the dashboard area, you're going to select the product you want to interact with. In our case, that's SQL BI Manager. Once you select that product, it's going to bring up the BI Manager main dashboard. That's going to show you just some relevant detail about your environment. For example, it's going to show you how many SQL services you're monitoring, if they're up or down, if there are critical alerts on those boxes, what current alerts are active. So underneath critical alerts, there's an area for the top 10 most active analysis services, top 10 most active integration services, and same thing, top 10 most active reporting services. In my environment, I only have 3 different specific services that I'm monitoring, but just to let you know, this tool is an enterprise class tool, so you can really scale out to any number of different services you have in your environment for your entire BI environment. This is meant to cover all your services and give you a central view that will be representative of your entire environment. So in your environment, if you have, like I said, a lot of different analysis services or reporting services or integration services, the big offenders will be listed here under their subsections. Also note that there's a side-by-side performance view. This will show you the servers that are running, how much CPU utilization, memory utilization, and I/O is being consumed by each individual server and service for that matter. When you first start demoing the product, you're going to want to go to SQL BI Manager's administration area. The BI services are added by selecting Add BI Service, and then you're going to have to add them individually. So for every instance of analysis service, you'll add that, then integration, then reporting services. Be aware that when you're adding services, you can specify different accounts to connect. By default, we're going to use the service account that was tied to the BI installation, but you can, specify SQL logins or other Windows user accounts. Specifically, if the SQL instance or service is in a different domain, then you can use different credentials and test those credentials here. Once you've added a BI service, and I'm going to go ahead and cancel out of this, but once you've added a BI service, you're going to want to verify that the thresholds of the metrics that you're monitoring are set correctly. So under administration, you're going to see threshold configuration. There's a default area, and then underneath the default area, you can pick the server or service that you want to adjust. Under the instance, you'll see specific metrics metrics that are specific to the server, metrics that are specific to individual services, and within this you can enable or disable whatever metrics are important to you by selecting this checkbox. Also note that all the metrics are configurable. So for example, if you want to adjust the thresholds, you can click on that pencil indicator and then edit the alert thresholds to a different value of what you would like to be alerted on. We, by default, are going to pick the metrics we think are important for your environment. Note that so metrics are already turned on by default, but there's a big list here that you can go through, specific to analysis services, specific to integration services. Um, if you have just a server or service that's been added that just has integration services, then you just stay in that area, turning on the metrics that you think are important and going from there. Once you've configured the metrics, probably the next step of using this tool is setting up your alerting. So once the metrics are dialed in, you'll want to go to configure SMTP, which allows you to set up a mail server. Once you've set up your mail server or added your mail server settings, then you'll want to go to configure email alerts. In the configure email alerts area, you can subscribe to any service that is important to you, and you can decide if you want to just get critical alerts or critical and warning alerts or just warning alerts. But it is a little bit granular, so we can adjust this so that you're not getting alerts on every single SQL service that's out there. If there's just some production boxes, or for example, maybe you're only in charge of reporting services, and those are that's the only area that's important to you, then you can subscribe to just the alerts that would go off for that reporting service. In in the administration area, you can also, of course, manage the monitored services. The things that are important to note about this is that if you need to change refresh interval, disable monitoring, or edit properties, you can do that here. The refresh interval, like I said, was by default 6 minutes, but again, if you want to reach out a little bit more often, you can certainly do that. In this case, I've changed the refresh interval to 3 minutes. Also note that if you want to, for example, change the credentials, then you would go to the properties area or edit properties area, and you can specify a different account. So, if an account changes or you want to use a different service account, this is where you would go to do that. So once you've added the servers, the next things that you'll want to do is start working with those services to see what's going on in your environment. And you'll notice that there's, on top of the dashboard, there's an alert area that will show you your active alerts. And then right next to those active alerts, there's 3 different areas where your individual services are broken out. So everything that's under analysis services will be under this SSAS area. Same thing for reporting services, same thing for integration services. Also note that in the alerts area, you've got the active alerts as well as historical. So if you need to go back and look at alerts that might have happened in the past, let's say on the 5th, you can select that point in time and view that data. Also note that if you want to view, for example, any specific problem, you can just click on the alert preview, and it'll take you to that service and to the appropriate area where a problem was occurring. And then if you need to get back to the alerts area, you select it over here on the left-hand side and you can go back to that main page. When you want to dig in specifically to any given service, what you do is first off start by going to the main overview area. Here you will be able to select from the different services that you have, and again, I only have one service in my environment, but let's say you had 10, all 10 of your services would be listed here, and you can just click on the name, and once you've clicked on that name of that service, it's going to take you directly into the view for how that service is performing. We'll start with what active alerts are occurring on that box, and then over here on the left hand side you're going to see a navigation pane, and in the navigation pane we've broken it out into major areas that you might want to investigate. The first area being server performance. Now in server performance, this is generalized information around how the physical server, or VM for that matter, is performing. So you'll see performance metrics tied to disk, network, cache, CPU, processing, and memory. And within these areas, and again, like for example, if I select disk, it's going to show me the statistics around how that hard drive is functioning. For example, in this case, I'm looking at disk transactions, average seconds per transaction, disk queue length, percent idle time. And note that all of these graphs are adjustable. So for example, I'm looking at the E drive here. If I wanted to look at the C drive, I could just select that, and hit refresh, and I would see more information that was tied to the C drive. Also note that I can change the scale of any of these graphs. So if I'm looking at a graph and I want to look at maybe a larger time, a larger point of time, for example, let's say I don't want to look at the 13th. I want to look at a specific day. Let's say I want to look at today from a specific point in time. Let's say I want to look from 1 a.m. this morning to 9 a.m. this morning. Just the early morning hours. I can select that time period in this history selector. I can select the scale. So maybe I just want to look at hours and hit refresh, and the graph will sort of display that information for me. Or if I want more information, I can go to minutes. Or if I want less, go to days, weeks, months. The weeks and months area are great if you've had BI Manager in the environment for a large period of time. For example, if you've got 6 months worth of data, then maybe looking at weeks and months is a more useful view to sort of get the trend around utilization of an analysis service in your environment. Now, just moving forward, again, server performance is just general service metrics, but if you want to look at, for example, network, in this area you'll see data transfers, network output, and queue length. In the cache area, you're going to see cache copy read hits by percent, cache copy reads by per second, as well as cache faults. For CPU utilization, we have CPU thread switching, percent processing time, as well as interrupts being viewed in this location. Under the processing piece, here you're just seeing processing working sets. And the last area is memory. Before I go into memory, just notice that the areas of performance disk, and, for example, network cache, they're all marked green, saying that there's no problems. In memory, we've got a warning condition that's listed here, and if I click on memory, the area that's having a problem, in this case available memory, will have an indicator telling you that's where the performance problem lies. Now, server performance, that's again generalized. If you want to get more information about how analysis services is running, you'll want to go into the SSAS performance area. And here you'll see SSAS processing, query activity, analysis services memory, cache, and then views specific to the formula engine and the storage engine. Everything here is listed green, so everything's running within thresholds. If I go into the processing piece, this is going to show rows written, aggregated rows, as well as index processing. And you can see sort of the performance areas and this is the statistics from any polling interval. Under query activity, we'll be able to see two different sets of query activity. We can see all queries or active queries. Now, all queries is going to show you, cell activity, calculation covers, and sonar subcubes, and non-empty algorithm utilization. But the query area that says active queries, here we're going to be able to see, and let me just adjust this so it's looking at a little bit bigger of a time point. This is just looking for the last 8 hours. Let's say we want to look at a whole day. You can define what information you want to look at, or what queries you want to look at via this history range area, and then whatever queries that occurred during that point in time will be listed underneath in this lower section. If you want to get more information, for example, this command's truncated. If I just select it and hold my cursor over that area, then the whole command text will become available, so I can see any truncated information. Also note that this is an optional piece of the tool. For example, you'll see this configure button, and if you go into the configure area, you can decide Do I want to pick up query information? If you have this enabled, that will say that yes, we do want to pick up query information. And then you can decide, do I want to pick up all query information, or do I just want to pick up poor performing queries? And that's the second option. When you have this turned on, by default, we look for any query that took longer than 5 seconds to run. But you can adjust this according to what makes the most sense for your specific environment. For example, if most of your queries took, let's just say 20 seconds, you might want to start with the poor performing queries being listed at 25 seconds. To define 25 seconds as what a poor performing query would be. Also note we've got row scans by number and CPU by millisecond. All of these different thresholds are cumulative, so if you add them, all must be true for you to capture that query. Also note you can decide how much history you want to hold with regard to query information. For example, in this case I'm looking back 3 weeks, but if I only wanted to hold maybe 2 weeks or 1 week or the last 15 hours or something like that, I can certainly adjust that here and save my choices. When you have this enabled, then you're going to get more detailed information around the the queries that are running on your analysis services, and they'll be displayed here under query activity. Under SSAS memory, we have memory utilization, Vertipack memory utilization, Vertipack memory map that's listed. Under the cache area, we'll have cache transactions, rate of memory added to cache. And then we have the formula engine as well as the storage engine. Other thing to note is whenever you're looking at any given graph, let's say I want to look at maybe a little bit less information. Maybe I just want to look at the last day. Maybe I want to look by hour. I can adjust the graphs to show the relevant information that I'm looking for. And then let's say I wanted to share this information. I can always hit export and pull this information out in XLS format or CSV format, as well as any individual graph. I can download this in different formats to share with other people that maybe don't have access to BI Manager, or if I just want to send this up to my boss or whatnot, I can pull that information out. Now in the formula engine, here I'm going to see query pool threads, query pool job queue length, processing pool threads, processing pool job queue length, and flat cache activity. Again, data points are available throughout the tool, and I just have to hover over that data point to get more information. Under the storage engine, what we're going to have here are data file activity, cache copy reads, queries answered from cache, which is obviously relevant, filter queries answered from cache, average time per query, as well as dimension cache activity. Measure cache group activity as well. And last but not least, measure group cache activity. These two top areas that I've covered are just general performance information. If you're really trying to get under the hood and see what's going on a specific service, then you're going to want to go to a few of these other areas that are important to investigate. The sessions area, the user area, object utilization, and the SAS model name. As far as the SAS model name is concerned, this is just going to show you the models that are out there, the last schema update, the last data update, and relevant details around those models. The object utilization area will show you all the different objects that are available. It's important to note throughout this product you're going to find a filter. So if you're looking for specific object types or object IDs, you can select that information. For example, if I only want to see cubes, I can select cubes, hit apply, and then just those objects will show up in my view. And moving forward, again, if you want to know exactly who's doing what on your box or who your heavy impact users are, then you just go to user activity and it's going to show you who's interacting with this with your box. In my case, it's just me, but imagine you had 10 people on your business intelligence team. All 10 people would be listed under user activity. You could see how many sessions, what their CPU utilization was, what their memory utilization was. And one of the nice things about this is that if you click on the name of that user, it's going to automatically flip you over to the sessions piece. And in the sessions piece, it will be filtered on that user. So you can see sort of a rundown of all 6 sessions that I've been interacting with and their impact. This section, if you're not filtered in on a specific user, will show you every session that's interacting with this analysis services service. Note that the filter here will show you, databases, status, session SPIDs, user information, and you can select from the drop downs what you want to look at or what you want to filter on. Again, in a bigger environment, this is going to give you a lot more information, but in a demo environment, you're sort of tied to what you can see. In my case, it's just my own individual user. Okay, so moving left to right, we were looking at analysis services, but the same sort of information is available for both reporting services and integration services. So going to the reporting services area, here I'm going to be able to see an overview of which services I'm monitoring. I can jump into that service just by selecting the name. And underneath that service, there'll be an overview showing you any active alerts or any downtime. And then the same thing happens here under reporting services. We start off with general performance metrics under server performance. Same thing, disk, network cache, and it's pretty straightforward and also a lot like what we've already covered. So if I go to disk, I'll see the relevant disk data. Again, that's adjustable on a drive-by-drive basis. Under network, it'll show me network information. Cache information is pretty much the same as what we've seen before. CPU has the same sort of view, and same thing for processing as well as memory. The next area you'll want to go to is report server performance. This is going to show you how the reporting server is functioning, and it's showing you network performance, memory performance, requests, and connections. Under connections, we're going to see the active connections, who's doing what, the logins and logons rather. Under the network, we're just going to see how much information is being transferred. Under memory, we're going to be able to see memory pressure state, and then the requests that are being asked and how active is this reporting server. The next area is reporting services. Here we're going to see the sessions, cache, and requests. You can just get more information about what's going on under the hood of that report server. And then the last 2 areas are really the nice areas to look at: the user activity and report activity. So report activity is all the report executions that have occurred on that box. And again, you can filter. And then user activity allows you to see which individual users are affecting your box the most. Total processing time, average processing time, how much I/O, how many sessions are being used. And if you click on the name of the user, you'll get a pop-up that shows you the individual reports that have been run or running. Again, continuing on, we've gone into reporting services. Now if you go to integration services, here we're going to see, again, starting off with an overview of what services are being monitored, in my case just the one. If you click on that service, we'll jump into that server and give you an overview of any alerts that have occurred with regard to integration services, as well as general performance information, disk, network, CPU, the same as before, and just going through it, it's very similar, just showing you generalized statistics around how the VM and the server is functioning. And then if you want to get into what packages have been processed and the individual history, then you go to SSIS activity, and here you can see what packages have been run. So package execution, package details, and task details. Note that here we can jump into individual package execution where you can see successful or failed, the duration, error count, when that package started, when that package ended, the name of the package, and then again, remember you have a filter available here, so I can filter on status for success or failed, package name, what user did called that work, and then if I click on an individual package, it's going to jump into that package's execution details and task details. All the information here, by the way, is of course exportable as well. Just be cognizant of that. Underneath Integration Services Activity, you have the history. And in the history area, you can see different packages that have executed, average execution time, and sort of a rundown of how that package has been performing. Just note that in these different areas, again, we can export all this information out, so if you want to share it with other people, you can certainly do so. This concludes the demonstration of SQL BI Manager. If you have any thoughts or questions, please feel free to reach out to your account manager and send them their way. We'll be more than happy to answer anything. And just be aware that there again is a 2-week trial that comes along with this product. You can just download it from our website. If you just go to IDERA.com, underneath the main products page, you'll find SQL BI Manager, and we can start the trial for free just by selecting Start for Free. Thanks and have a great day.